Hello everybody and welcome! Today we're going to do a quick and dirty tabletop ready paint job on the Malign Sorcery's endless spell, the Quicksilver Swords. This is just going to be a fast paint job just to get it on the table to standard, tabletop quality. So first of all, what we're going to do is I have a little Liquitex Flow Aid, and I'm going to mix in a little Bile-Tan green. A little bit of poster tack. Put that on the bottom. So we don't have a standard, oops, I spilt it everywhere scenario. Take some of that Bile-Tan green. Mix it up with our Flow Aid. Because I'm going for like a green smoke with these. You could use a blue, but okay. So I'm going to start at the top. Just make sure you get a good coverage, a consistent coverage over everything. You see with that Flow Aid, it just helps it pool up in those recesses a little bit more. Lovely. Just make sure again that we get a nice even coverage. You don't have to worry if you end up going over top of the swords, because we are going to be painting them after. That's why we're doing this first. Just gets it all in there nice. Remember, consistent coverage over everything. Make sure you get in all the little nooks and crannies. There we go. Oh, looking good. Now with that Flow Aid, it will take it a little bit longer to dry than normal. That's okay. That is okay. Oh, I love this Bile-Tan green. Bile-Tan. Never was one for being able to pronounce Games Workshop names. Just a nice, consistent coverage. And again, we're not winning any golden demons, any crystal brush. We're just getting this table ready so we can enjoy playing this in our games of Age of Sigmar. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish the rest of this. And I'll be back once it is done and dried so that we can continue on. Alright, so now that this has completely dried, you can see you could probably just leave it right there if you wanted. But I'm just going to take it up a notch. I got some titanium white and I'm going to use just a stiff bristled dry brush here. Got some titanium white. I just get most of it off there. I'm going to start at the bottom. And I'm just going to catch those edges with the white. Get that all blended in. A little bit too much on the brush still there. You can see I've switched to using a paint handle. These Games Workshop paint handles I find fantastic. I highly suggest them if you are so inclined to liking a paint handle. So I'm not going to sit you through all this dry brushing, just so you can see what we're doing. Just want to catch all these raised edges. Bringing it back to a little bit of white there. And you don't even have to hit all of the raised edges. Just make sure that you're catching a lot of those inside edges. Some of the areas maybe where you hit it just a bit too dark. Now you could edge highlight too, but don't forget this is just what I'm calling quick and dirty. Get it on the tabletop. There we go. It's looking good. Catch that leading edge. There you can see. It's a little dark, so run over with the dry brush. Boom, lightened it right up for us. Okay, we'll just get some on the other side here. And I'll be back when it's done. So here it is, all with the dry brush back on it. Brought that colors back up a little bit, brighter. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint all the blades. Now I'm going to use chainmail. The reason why I'm going with such a dark silver with this is, such a bright silver, is because I'm going to bring it back down to the dark again with some nun oil. So we're gonna start with a really bright color, and then we're going to bring it back down. So we're just going to go in and all nice and carefully hit with the silver. Make sure you thin it down, maybe in medium or some flow aid or even some water. It might require a couple coats. That's okay. This stuff goes on pretty smooth, pretty fast. I want to get a nice smooth coverage over each and every sword. What we're going to do is we're going to do the blades. We're going to do the grips in silver. They are Quicksilver Swords, after all. And again, just let your brush do the work. Make sure you get a healthy load of paint on there. I highly suggest using wet palettes. They help keep a good consistency to your paint. I'm not seeing a whole lot of difference between the white and the silver, unfortunately, on camera here, but it is popping out. Now you could take it the one step and paint all these blades black first. I find that silvers, golds, well, not so much golds, but I find that silvers are a fantastic paint to go over black. And if you did do it black, you could technically use a silver Sharpie during this. If you haven't seen a Sharpie being used, feel free to go back, check out my video, painting an Imperial Knight with a Sharpie. I show how if you start with the black, and I did the gold detail over top of it with the Sharpie, and it ended up turning out pretty good. So I'm just going to go through, get each of these blades on the swords and each of the handles with the chainmail silver. And I'll show you what that looks like when the silver's done. Okay, now you can see all the silver is done. So now we're going to switch on to doing the hilts and the pommels. And we're just going to keep this like a 3-color minimum. Switching up to Hachette Copper for this. And you just want to make sure you've got it thinned down. Might require a couple coats. But we're just going to go over top here. Just get in all the recesses. Down in the eyes, everything else, because again, we're going to be doing a wash with nun oil over top. We'll which will seal in between each of the seams where the colors meet. We're not going to do the nun oil over top of the Bile-Tan green though. We'll use a smaller wash brush and just make sure that we pick out all the details. Excellent, okay, and then we're also going to do these skulls. As I said, quick and dirty, easy paint job to get these on the table. You'll see when we're all said and done, quick and dirty doesn't necessarily mean a bad paint job. So we get in there. Again, make sure that your paints are nice and thin. Find if you give a good shake to this copper, it has excellent coverage. Get in there nice and steady when you're going around everything else that you've painted. Get in the eyes. And if you happen to touch like I just did there, not a big deal. We'll go back and touch that up again before adding the washes. There we go. As I said, this copper has some excellent coverage. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and finish off all the copper on this. And once I'm done the copper, I'll come back and show you. Right, now that our silver and copper has dried, you can see there, it's looking pretty good so far. Got it in everywhere that's needed to be. So now we're going to use that liquid talent known as nun oil. I'm just going to get my brush a little wet to begin with. Wick off all the excess moisture. That's just so you don't get what I like to refer to as a thirsty brush, where it's dry and it just absorbs all your wash. And but if you start off a little bit moist, then everything's good. So now we're going to hit all the copper and all the silver, trying not to get any into that Bile-Tan green. And again, I'm using a smaller brush here so that I can have a little bit more control. You can see how that'll settle right in the eyes of that skull. Looks good. So you want a healthy coating on everything, because again, we're gonna bring that silver back up. We're gonna highlight that copper back up. So you just want to make sure that good coverage everywhere. I love nun oil. It's probably my favorite thing about any Citadel line of paints. It's just a very universal wash. It goes on all metallics that I paint. Every last bit of metallic. So we're going to go through. We're going to wash every bit, as I said, every bit of silver, every bit of copper. I'm going to go through and do all that. Get one more of these here. See how lovely that just flows over everything? So good. Now, if you're getting too big of pooling up in places, just take your brush and dab it off. As long as your brush isn't too overloaded, it will just suck right back into that brush. Love my nun oil. Just keep smoothing, and don't forget, work one area at a time. Get everything in that area, front, back, because especially on these bright metallics, you run the risk of it showing where you washed and then it dries and then you throw the wash on again, and you don't want that. Definitely don't want that. A little too heavy there, so we just suck that back into the brush, spread it out in the few spots that we may have missed. Again, just ensuring that nice even coats throughout everything. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish doing the nun oil on all the metallics, and once I'm done, show you what that looks like. Okay, now that has all dried, we can go on with doing a little bit of highlighting. So we're going to go back to our chainmail, and we're going to use a dry brush, and just going to hit all the edges, bring that back, a bit more paint off there, because I would like to, okay, so you can see I'm even hitting the copper with it. It gives it a very antiqued look, and it brings out that shine in it too. All right, leaving where everything's being washed nice and dark. Hope we have enough light in here for this. I had some gorgeous natural light a little bit earlier, but the sun's gone in behind the clouds. We're just gonna hit all those raised surfaces. Bring that back. Go over the entire thing. I also think what I'm going to do is, once I get this all, at the end I'll take it outside so you guys can see it in the natural lighting. Well, it's highlighting up nice. One of my favorite parts, after you get the wash on and you just kind of hit it with a quick dry brush after all the wash is dried, and it just makes everything pop. All those transitions from one color to the next kind of hides any little imperfection there that you might have. It's really quite a blessing, the whole wash dry brush. Now you could easily edge highlight this, you know, take a nice flat brush and just go along the edges. But again, we're just trying to get this onto the battlefield quickly. And still good enough that, you know, the eye's gonna pop. But anyways, let me finish this up. You just basically, as I said, just a quick dry brush over everything. I'm going to finish this up, and we'll take it outside so you can get a look in the nice natural light. Okay, so here it is, all done. Viewing this outside in natural light. You can see there how the copper has really come out, more of an antique look. You can see the green smoke really takes on like a ghostly, magical type essence. And then I just painted the base black. Obviously you do basing whatever's going to match your army. But there we are. Hope you liked it. Hope you got something out of it. And until next time, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and just have fun with it.